Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Giles Turner. I'm the editor of the European tech team at Bloomberg, and we're going to talk about ride-sharing as a global game changer. Is it truly possible to change roads and cities by pooling transport? I'm here with Karima Delli, who is a member of European Parliament since 2009 and chair of the Committee of Transport and Tourism. Also Andrew Pinnington, CEO of MyTaxi, the well-known ride-hailing app, and also Horace, the co-founder of transport startup Gogoro. And it's no real secret, obviously, that the medium of transport changes the way towns are shaped. We've got the big examples, such as car ownership, that creates out-of-town shopping centres, and even the small changes, such as the raised townhouse doors to keep you out of the horse muck from the street below. Now, my first question is going to be for Karima, who, as a regulator, is obviously well-versed in dealing with a bit of muck now and again. And what I'm interested in, really, and ask you, is what have you been most concerned about regarding how ride-sharing is changing our cities?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, Web Summit. I'm very pleased to be here. The mutualization must answer several challenges because tomorrow the mobility will be low carbon, meaning clean for climate, following the Paris Agreement, very important, because tomorrow, without pollution, air pollution cause 500,000 premature deaths in Europe each year. Future of mobility will be inclusive. It's very important. It means accessible to everyone. At this moment in Europe, EU citizens give an average 13% of their budget on transport. Is too much. And everybody doesn't have a smartphone. So we not forget the digital fracture between old and young generation, rural and urban area is very important. And I believe the last thing very important, the solidarity, because the world changing, yes, the global economic system give a new set of value because we are more collaborative, we share with other people, and police sharing really can play a game on it, a new role. But my problem in this mutualization in Europe, the digital revolution make a very important problem is social dumping with two important ways. First of all, we have an economic platform, and we have a collaborative economy. And I push in Europe to have a new definition because platform economy is not the same for collaborative economy. In platform economy, we have a service provider is professional. In collaborative economy, is not a professional. So that's the reason why we push this new definition, but the goal is to have tomorrow a platform economy, a collaborative economy. Together, we have a complementarity for a new transport.
Karima, just a quick question. Do you feel like as a regulator you've got tabs on the startups who are at the center of the ride-sharing economy in Europe? Because 5 years ago, I didn't order a taxi from my phone. Right now, I've done that twice already in Lisbon. But how are you managing that change? These are big, powerful companies.
The first problem we have, we don't have any definition. What is an economy platform? We don't know. What is a collaborative economy? We don't know. That's the reason why we need several criteria. And for me, the climate, very important, and we have a reflection about straight hole. Straight hole is the limit. For example, at this moment, we have a discussion at the European level, and we say if 6,000 euro, we have more of 6,000 euro is professional. So when I mean professional is you need to respect the legislation of Europe.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm just going to flip the conversation slightly to city infrastructure. And Gogoro makes electric scooters. You pull the battery out when you're spent, put a fresh one in. It's a great idea. You need a lot of charging stations. I'd be interested from your point of view and give us a first-hand example of what it's like working with town planners, especially in Asia as well, where much of your electric scooters are based, and obviously cities don't have much money to spend on infrastructure.
Well, we started the company with a vision to make energy a little bit better, a little smarter for urban cities of tomorrow. And of course, you just mentioned today, transportation happens to be a very big sector of our consumption today. And so the first tackle that we took on was urban transportation. And our solution when we looked around was, how do cities of tomorrow actually adopt electric? It is very clear to all of us that electric is going to take over. And unfortunately, with a lot of cities, it's really difficult. Can you imagine thousands of vehicles in the city with cords trying to charge? And so the aha moment came in and we said, okay, let's provide battery swapping to allow our customer to swap and go within seconds. So today, just to give you a little context, today in Taiwan, we have about 460 stations across all of Taiwan at about 1 kilometer distance between each. And the customer buys a vehicle very similar to them buying a gas vehicle. But because we don't provide the battery in the total cost of ownership of when you can buy the vehicle, they would then subscribe to a payment system that allows them to swap and go. This actually motivated a lot of interaction with both the public sector and the private sector, because we help solve a problem that is very immediate. It's going to come on very, very quickly in the next couple of years, that electric transportation needs to be the solution for cities of tomorrow. And so how do you solve that infrastructure problem? And so what we do is we provide a solution that both provides a great usability for the customer, a great solutions to the regulators as they're looking to clean up the city, to make the city more efficient, and then also engaging with the private sector to put energy where energy wasn't wasn't there before. So today you go to gas stations and fill up a vehicle. They're big destinations. In Taiwan, we put it in 7-Eleven, we put it in coffee shops, and distribute the energy into places where energy wasn't really in your frame of mind before. So we look at sharing in a very different way.
Are you seeing people traveling further because of this? Because one problem often people have with electric vehicles, especially in America, is this sort of distance fatigue. The reason why they don't want to buy an electric vehicle isn't because they're petrol heads, it's because they're terrified of getting from A to B. Because you are offering something where you can essentially, literally pull out a battery from a hole in the wall and put it in your scooter, are you seeing people traveling further, especially in the Asian cities?
Actually, it's funny because people ask me, how long is the autonomy? How far can it go? Well, with electric, you always think about, I can only go X amount of distance. With Gogoro, it's almost infinite. You just swap and go. We see our customers swapping more often than they go to the gas stations. Even though we provide 100 kilometers between each one of the swap, they don't do that. They come in more often because it's more convenient, more clean. There's no cash exchange. There's no dirty smell. There's no, all the usual things that you hate about a gas station. Electric provides all that, right? And so the customer actually rides a very similar type of pattern every day. It's not just because you can go further, you go further. You go to work, the work is the same place. You go to school, school is the same place. It just happens to the energy replenishment system provides a more convenient usability for them to swap and go quickly.
Yeah, so I changed the battery recently in my old-fashioned internal combustion engine vehicle, right? It was a pain in the backside, took me ages, had to get the father-in-law around, quite embarrassing. The problem is, I see for you, you've got scooters so far. Well, that's great for a certain demographic, but the people who maybe can really benefit will be people who aren't up to speed in changing or happy or secure changing and fixing an engine. So I'm thinking about the elder demographic who also can't do it anymore. Like, are you going to expand from scooters into new vehicles? Because I see that as something that would really change, especially transportation.
The great thing about batteries is that you can put, the fact that we're all here, sitting here today is because of energy. Today we do scooters. Tomorrow, who knows? There's plenty of things that we can do with the battery. The fact that we use a little clicker to do the slideshow remote control today and a laser pointer. The guy who invented a battery back in the 1950s never thought that we would be sitting here with a clicker today. Getting batteries in the hand of everyone allows cities to transform themselves. Today with scooters, tomorrow probably with different vehicle types, with autonomy. There's a lot of drones and other vehicle types that are going to be moving in the city. We just want to be the solution that provides a great usability, a little more convenient, and a little smarter way for us to take energy.
Okay. I've got a question for you now, Andrew. As a journalist, I'm quite interested in the law of unintended consequences. And so one example I like is there was a British governor of Delhi, and he put a bounty on cobras because there was an infestation of cobras. And what actually happened is everyone quit their jobs and bred cobras, which meant a lot more cobras and a bigger problem. And so for you, because we now find it very easy to hail a taxi, what are the sort of the knock-on effects that you're considering or have taken you by surprise, such as maybe people that perhaps are using public transport less?
Yeah, I think the answer to that varies depending on the environment you operate in. So we operate across 11 European countries and a few countries in South America as well. And you get different effects in different cities depending on the environment. So what we've seen in the more developed European economies, such as London, is that certain demographics, because of the, for example, safety and security aspect of using an app which is trackable, traceable, you know who your driver is, certain demographics such as, our biggest demographic user in London is young females between 25 and 35, and it's very much driven by safety and security. And that's actually taking people off public transport and putting them into a private vehicle. So we then have to work very closely with the local authority, and our position as a business is to work very much in harmony with the local regulator to ensure that we find the right solution for the city. So as we see those consequences happening, we're trying to work with the regulator to ensure that we're not destroying the whole fabric of the city and that we're working in harmony with the city. On the sort of other side of that, our business is in South America, where public transport isn't perhaps as well developed. It's because people now have access to a wider range of transport, and you get issues like pooling coming along, or opportunities like pooling coming along. It's actually making the city move better and more freely. So you get in some cases positive effects, and other cases the more unintended consequences you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to ever be, at the moment there's an obvious geographic limit to ride sharing, well, either intercity or within a city. But my grandmother, for example, I come from a rural farming community, she no longer drives, she's 92. Like, this would be a godsend for her. But she doesn't use a smartphone. I mean, is there going to be a time, perhaps in 5-10 years' time, you think, where that demographic can be essentially much freer than they were?
I'd love to be able to project 10 years into the future and know exactly what's happening. The world is moving in our world so fast that it's difficult to look 10 months ahead, never mind 10 years. But I think inevitably it will take root in the larger urban demographics to begin with, and then gradually spread out. And there's lots of examples of where it started in a city and then spread to the suburbs and gradually diversifying out of that. So I think you will ultimately see that, and then in harmony with autonomy as that comes along, and the autonomous vehicle, you'll see the accessibility increase, because right now you've got to economically persuade a driver to go out there, which is not necessarily the most efficient use of the driver's time. Whereas, as you get to a driverless vehicle, it perhaps is more easy to allocate assets out there.
Okay, interesting. I'm just going to open the panel up a bit and do a bit of crystal ball gazing. Where do you think the rights of the drivers in ride-sharing will be in 10 years' time?
So maybe if I start, I think on that, I mean, we're very clear that we think that for quite a time ahead there will still be a very significant role for the driver, even as the technology evolves. We think there'll be a gradual transition from where we are today through to full autonomy in the future, and there'll be, we think probably in most developed economies that aren't necessarily command and control economies, there'll be an interim stage where the vehicles will be piloted, so there'll still be a role for the driver, but it'll start to evolve over time into more of a service-led role as opposed to a physical driving role. And then as full autonomy begins to be introduced, as with any industry, I think you'll see a range of propositions, a range of value propositions, where at one end of the market there might be almost a box on wheels that has very little bells and whistles, through to something which is piloted, which there is a service technician in there, can help you with your bags, give you a guided tour of the city, whatever it may be. So I think the employment style of the driver will change quite significantly over a 10, 20-year period. We still think there'll be quite a lot of employment there.
Is there a regulatory angle there, Karima? Do you think that, are you worried about the rights of drivers?
The right of drivers, I believe, for me, all of people talk about autonomous car. In Europe, a lot of people, and we know how company of Silicon Valley invest in research and development in autonomous car. I said very quickly, autonomous car don't exist, but connected vehicle and intelligent car are here, is a reality. But the future, I believe we need, and agree with you, we need a better, a modern public transport, a better modern public service. Transport on demand must play a better role in public transport with bike sharing, with or bus on demand, must be generalized on all of public tenders. Another topic very important, and don't forget, because we talk about the transport of passenger, but the future is the transport of goods. And we can rethinking the delivering of the last kilometer, and we need a green logistic. Green logistic things to bicycle cargo, cargo barge, and freight or bus tram. But the future, really, I believe, and I believe you say that, is the drone, the e-commerce. And my mission in the European Parliament is to create a new framework. And we have a big problem for three issues. First of all, for example, when you talk about autonomous car, on safety, there are an emergency today to secure mobility, to secure driver against cyber attack. We have a problem with the data. It's a time to open data, I believe, and on legal responsibility, because the drone, who are responsible of the drone? If you have an accident with a drone, at this moment we don't know. It's the same in autonomous car. So we have a lot of problem, but the regulator must make a new legislation very quickly.
Okay. Well, I think we've run out of time, so thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it, and I hope you have a good time at the rest of WebTopic. Thanks.